Hello students, today's topic of discussion is torsion. So what do you mean by torsion? Uh, Before going into the definition, I'll just explain something about torsion. Suppose you have a cylindrical rod of circular cross section, obviously, which is fixed at one end and free at the other end. That is, it's in a cantilever position. Now suppose you want to turn this rod or twist this rod. So what will happen? So if you twist this rod on the free end, what will happen? There will be a twisting couple acting on the free end. That means there will be a twisting force acting in the opposite directions on the free end. So as it is acting on the opposite direction, that force will be tangential to the surface area. That force will be tangential to the surface area. Thereby, it will creating the twist. As it creates the twist on the free end, so what will happen? By Newton's third law, there will be a couple generated at the fixed end. There will be a couple which will be generated at the fixed end. So that will be your resisting torque or resisting couple. So the twist that you apply on the free end is your applied twist, and due to that applied twist, what will happen? There will be a torque generated, because there will be a force on the, or the tangential force generated and force into the perpendicular distance. That means there will be a torque generated. So what type of force will be that one? That will be a tangential force, and therefore the nature of force will be shear force. So if you consider a rigidly clamped shaft at one end, and twisted at the other end by a torque T applied in a plane perpendicular to the axis of the bar, such that in this position the bar is said to be in torsion. So what will be the effect of the torsion? The effect of the torsion is to twist it, and hence the torsional moment is also called a twisting moment or a torque. So if you go into the effects is nothing but to impart an angular displacement of one end cross section with respect to the other end, because this will provide an angular displacement. It will twist the bar, or it will displace the bar at an angle, and thereby it will generate a force or generate a stress which will be tangential in nature, and thereby it will generate a shear stress. It will generate a shear stress on the cross section of the bar applied to, which will be perpendicular to the axis. This shear stress is obviously it is perpendicular to the axis. So let's move on to the next slide. So when can you call a bar to be in pure torsion? So a bar which is in pure torsion has no other force or no other moments except torsional moment. That is, there is no other bending moment or any sort of axial forces present on the bar. Only twisting or torsion moment is present. In that case only it is called a case of pure torsion. So if you take an elemental area dA over here on a free end of the circular shaft, then what will be the dF? This dF will be equal to this stress, this tangential stress into the area. This tangential stress is nothing but the shear stress tau or Q. Thereby the torque will be how much? On the torque applied on this area will be this tau into the perpendicular distance, that is your radius, this tau into the radius. So each of the tau into the radius is your perpendicular distance. So dF into R. So where R is the radial distance of the elemental area. So what are the assumptions of pure torsion? If you take the pure torsion, the assumptions will be the material should be homogeneous and isotropic. I think everybody knows what is homogeneous and isotropic. The stresses should be within the elastic limit. That means it should follow the Hooke's law. Next, before the application of the torque, the cross section which are planes will remain plane after the application of the torque. That means there will be no warping of the body. The cross section will be plane before the application of the torque as well as after the application of the torque. Similarly, the radial lines will be radius before the application of the torque as well as after the application of the twisting moment. And also the twisting moment should be uniform throughout the whole length of the cross section or whole length of the bar or shaft. Now what are the effects or what are the applications of torsion? The main effect or main application of a shaft in torsion is to transmit power. So shafts transmitting power from engine to a rear axle of an automobile, from a motor to a machine tool, from a turbine to a electric motors, etc. are various examples of shafts which are in torsion, or member of shafts which are in torsion, which deliver the power. So we'll go into the power in the afterward slides. Now let us move on to the derivation of the torsion equation. So for derivation of the torsion equation, we just need to consider that the bar is in pure torsion. We just need to consider that the bar is in pure torsion. So here also let us consider a cantilever cylindrical shaft which is fixed at one end and free at the other end, and which is executed by a torque T. A torque T is applied at the free end. So as you apply a torque or a twist T, what will happen? Suppose you have a line AC. So this is the 3D view, this is the 2D view of the bar. In 2D side view of the bar, this is a 2D front view of the bar. So in the 3D view, if you draw a line AB parallel to the edge or parallel to the side, suppose this is the line AC parallel to the side, suppose you apply a twist clockwise, what will happen? Suppose this distance OA, for an angle of twist theta, it will move from A to B. So the line OA will twist and become or come to OB. So this line OA will twist by an angle theta, which is called the twist angle, and it will move to OB, B position. So there is a arc generated AB, which you can see. This arc is equal to how much? It is the product of the radius R and the twist angle theta, obviously. Okay. Now if you again consider the same figure, but from the side view, what you can see, the point A has moved to point B, and the line AC is now this dotted line BC. So this C point is, if you fix the C point, or if the C point is remaining fixed, then a arc is generated AB, which is moved by this angle phi over the length. So what is this angle phi? So the stress at A, and due to the stress at A is tau. So due to the stress tau, the point A has moved from or displaced from A to B. Thereby this distance AB or angle BAC or BCA or phi is nothing but the shear strain. This shear strain is caused by the shear stress tau, which is produced by the application of twist T. So this angle BCA or angle phi is the shear strain. So if you look at here, then AB is the arc, and if you fix the point C, then CA or CB are the radius, obviously. So here also arc AB is equal to the length, the radius, that is the length of the shaft, into the phi. Now this is, the angle is very small as compared to the length of the shaft. So the length, the change in length can be taken is very small and can be neglected. This change in length can be neglected. Thereby the arc AB is also equal to L into phi. So arc AB is equal to R theta equals to L phi. Now what is phi? Phi is shear strain. Shear strain means it is, if you go to the modulus of rigidity or shear modulus, it is the ratio of the shear stress by shear strain. So obviously the ratio of the shear stress by the shear modulus is your shear strain. So L phi can be written as L into tau by G. So rearranging this equation, we get tau by R is equals to G theta by I think it's clear to everybody up to point 1. So if we proceed to the next part, then the stress just generated at A or B is how much? That is tau. So due to this twist, there is a change in the radius. There is an incremental in the radius from A to B. That increment is nothing but dr. Then what is the, if you take an element here, if you take a small element here, then what is the, if you take a very small element here, then what is the area of the element? The area of the element is the circumference into the thickness. Circumference into the change in the radius, that is 2 pi r into dr. Then the force will be into the stress, that is tau. So tau into 2 pi r dr is the tangential force. So what will be the moment? Moment is nothing but the force into the perpendicular distance, that is the force into the radius. So tau into 2 pi r dr into r is the infinitesimal moment of the element. Now for the whole shaft, what you will do? You will just integrate over it. You will just integrate this small moment, that is small moment of tangential force, that is dt. So if you integrate dt, you will get t, that is t equals to integration of tau into 2 pi r dr into r. So just write the value of tau. It is how much? G theta by L into r. So G theta by L into r into 2 pi r dr. So if you arrange it, G theta and L will be outside because these are constants. So it is G theta by L integration 2 pi r dr whole into r square. So area into radius square, what is that? Area into distance square, if it is the rectangular coordinates, if it is the area into the rectangular coordinate distance square, area into x square or area into y square will give you the moment of inertia of the rectangular coordinates ix or iy. Similarly, for the polar coordinate, that is r radius, this area, surface area into r square will give you the polar moment of inertia of the whole shaft. The integration over the whole shaft will give you the polar moment of inertia of the whole shaft. So what is polar moment of inertia? It is nothing but Iz or written as J. So from this you can write T is equal to G theta by L into J, or T by J is equal to G theta by L. So the torsion equation becomes T by J equals to tau by R equals to G theta by L. So proceed to the next slide. So the torsion equation is T by J equals to tau by R equals to G theta by L. So T is equals to, or tau is equals to T by J into R, that is the shear stress is proportional to the radius, tau is proportional to the R, tau by J equals to tau, T by J equals to tau by R, therefore tau is equals to R into T by J, that means tau is proportional to R. That means as the value of R is increasing from 0 to capital R, that is as the value of R is increasing from 0 to capital R, the value of torque is also increasing, as well as the value of shear stress is also increasing. As the radius is increasing from 0 to R, the value of shear stress is also increasing. So at the surface, when the small r radius is equal to the maximum radius, that is capital R, then tau is equal to tau max. So this is for a solid shaft, and for a hollow shaft it has two diameters, one is the, or two radius, one is the external radius and one other is the internal radius. So the shear stress will also vary from the minimum at the internal radius and the maximum at the external radius, obviously. So similarly, so sorry, now if you see, or if you compare this equation with the bending equation, now your torsion equation is T by J equals to tau by R equals to G theta by L. So if you have a comparison with the bending equation, you see a similarity, that is M by I equals to sigma by Y equals to E by R. So there the bending moment M, here the twisting moment T. Rectangular moment of inertia I, polar moment of inertia J. Similarly, normal stress or direct stress sigma, shear stress tau. The maximum distance from the neutral axis, that is Y, maximum distance from the center, that is your radius R. Here the Young's modulus, here the shear modulus, here the radius here, the twist per unit length. Now, what is polar moment of inertia? I have already said it is Ix plus Iy. Therefore, for circular shaft, it is pi to the power 4 by 64 plus pi to the power 4 by 64 equals to pi to the power 4 by 32. Thereby, the maximum shear stress, what you can see, T by J equals to tau by R. So, tau is equals to T by J into R. So, T by J, T by pi to the power 32 into R, R means D by 2. So, it is tau is equals to maximum shear stress for a solid shaft is equals to 16T by pi dq. Similarly, for a hollow shaft, it is 16T into capital D, D by 2. So, capital D by pi, capital D to the power 4 minus small d to the power 4, where capital D and small d as the radius of the diameter of the inner shaft and the inner diameter and the outer diameter. So, for the torsion, we have some important terms. So, number one is torsional moment of resistance or resisting torque. So, I have already explained the resisting torque, still I am just repeating it. The maximum torque which can be carried by a section of the shaft for a given maximum value of shear stress is called the torsional moment of resistance or the resisting torque. So, which one is the resisting torque? The torque at the maximum radius, that is at when the shear stress is maximum, that is at the maximum radius, the torque that is generated is your resisting torque. This resisting torque is nothing but this one. This is the maximum torque which is resisting the body from twisting. Now again, the polar section modulus. We know in the bending chapter there is a term I by Y. The ratio of the I by Y is called the section modulus Z. What is I? I is the moment of inertia, Y is the distance from the neutral axis. So, ratio is the maximum moment of inertia to the maximum distance from the neutral axis. This ratio is called the section modulus. So, here also, if you go to the torsion equation, T by J equals to tau max by R for the maximum shear stress. This J by R, where R is the maximum radius, this ratio is called the polar section modulus. So, similarly, the values of for a solid shaft are pi d cube by 16, and for a hollow shaft, obviously it should be pi by 16, where d1 to the power 4 minus d2 to the power 4 by d1, or capital D to the power 4 minus small d to the power 4 by capital D, where d1 or capital D are the external diameters and d2 or small d are the internal diameters. Now, in the bending, you have the normal stiffness. Here you have the torsional stiffness. What is torsional stiffness? It is nothing but the torque per radian twist. Torque per radian twist, T by theta, obviously equals to Gj by L is your torsional stiffness. Now, this term Gj is a product of the shear modulus and the polar moment of inertia. Similarly, in bending, you have the product EI, which is Young's modulus into moment of inertia. That was called flexural rigidity. This is called torsional rigidity. So, this T by theta is equal to Gj by L. So, obviously, Gj is equals to T by theta by L. So, torsional rigidity can also be said as the torque per unit angular twist. Why unit? Because the angular twist is divided by L. So, next thing we have the power. For explaining power, what we know, power is the rate of doing work. That is F into S, that is the displacement, by T. Now, what is S by T? S by T is velocity. So, force into the product of force into velocity is the power. Now, as I have already said, shafts are the important medium for transmission of power. The transmission of power can be in automobiles, can be in turbines, can be in machine tools, and in various other heavy engineering purposes. So for a normal force, it is force into linear or rectilinear velocity. So here also, for a angular force or a shear force, it is twist or torque into angular velocity. Now which one is the angular velocity? Angular velocity is omega. As because you have the shaft moving at n revolutions per minute, that is n rpm, so per second it will be n by 60, so it is revoluting an angle of 2 pi, so it is n by 60 into 2 pi is the angular velocity. So if you want to convert the rpm into angular velocity, is nothing by n by rpm n by 60 into 2 pi. So 2 pi n by 60 is nothing but the angular velocity. So this angular velocity into the twisting moment or torque will give you the power. Similarly, like F into V, here it is T into omega. Angular force or angular torque into angular velocity. So 2 pi nt by 60 in watts is your power. So if you want to have it in kilowatt, it is nothing but 2 pi nt by 60,000. So the next part will be given in the next presentation, and I'll be supplying some numericals in Word format to you or in PDF format to you. Just go through those numericals, and based on the numericals you need to do some assignment of 2 problems minimum, and a test of 5 to 10 MCQ questions will be given. Thank you.